I can't see the gate.
You just opened the gate.
Well, I don't see it anymore.
Well, that's not good. All right. I'll take a quick nap. I know she said she sees it, but I'm just gonna take a quick nap. Better to be unscuffed. Ugh. I'm just gonna run to the bathroom really quick, chat. All right, I'm back. Oy, oy, oy. Mm, 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 mm. Beans, are you in here? How's my door open? Little bastard. He just pushed my door open. And then he left. Can we give Beans a treat today? I'll go when I go get my lunch in a minute. Well, not in a minute, but in a little bit, I'll go get some treats. So I didn't restock them yet. No, he's not normally in my office. So I'm sorry, kid. He gets loads of treats, but he's not in my office. So. Oh, that looked painful. Fucking hell. Daisy's around. I'm actually falling out of love with this outfit, I'll be honest. I like it, but okay. All right. I need to do a few things before Pierce comes down. Not necessarily before then. Oren SBS steps? What is this? All right. Okay, I need to go see the incident with Vingle. So it's incident number this. So. Officers involved was Dark and Winchester. And the date for this was 24. Time did it happen? About 14:30. No, what am I saying? 13:60. I desperately need a fucking template.
Dark!
Hello.
Hello, it's Anna.
Oh, hey. Come on through. How did the academy go?
Oh my god, the cute little cadets. They're so
Yeah.
excited.
Yeah, I bet.
Fun.
We were all there once. Yeah, I'm good, thank you. How are
Uh-huh.
you? I heard you were
I'm good.
in hospital. You all right now?
Yeah, I got shot by Jesse Alba. I'm okay.
Yeah, I was aware. Have you been spoken to by Craig Barrett yet, or not?
Not yet. I'm not sure exactly what's happening with that case. I know Sonia is going on a rampage though.
Yeah, unfortunately, yes. She did pick him up recently, but I heard he's all right thanks to the PD. Okay. I do need to speak to you about something different. Maybe we'll come back to that incident.
Yeah, of course. Whatever you need.
Okay, so I want to speak to you about the... So you can reference the report if you want, just to kind of refresh your memory. It's the... Let me get you the report number. Hold on. It was the State Fair incident that happened on the 30th of July. The report number is going to be 8035. It's an incident report.
I feel like I wrote the warrant for this one. Oh, I did. No, I
You
did.
did?
Yes, I did for Susie. Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay, this is... I'm not going to be... Well, I might ask you questions about this particular incident, but yeah, I'm just going to ask you questions about the incident and some things that happened afterwards. I am going to record it. You're here voluntarily. I'm not going to read you Miranda rights or anything. You're not asking any, incriminating questions or anything like that. Actually, I might read your rights just to cover your own, just in case any questions I might ask, because, I might ask you a question by accident that
You're
might
fine,
be...
Dark. Feel free.
Okay, because I just want to cover, everybody's bases, both for your own...
Yeah, cover your ass, cover mine. I appreciate it.
Exactly, yeah. Okay, all right, let's do that. Let me set it up. I saw your we were in here, we were looking at what were we looking at? It was the Johanna Golden's
my
shooting.
Ryan Wilson investigation.
Yeah, we were looking at that for God, I can't even remember what it was. And we saw your case board that was bloody beautiful. Was that yours?
Oh no, actually that was Clover Fields. She was assisting me with the investigation initially. She's fantastic, but she unfortunately doesn't come around a lot.
Yeah.
So she designed the photo, I assume you mean?
Yeah, the photo. I mean, the whole case was fantastic, but then the case board as well. Yeah.
Yeah, the case board was Clover, but the rest of it's me.
Yeah. You're pretty good at this investigating business, huh?
It's definitely my bread and butter. It's what I gravitate to the most. I'm trying to help the PD set up at least a little bit of a detective unit.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, just a little one. Just something where people who are interested in this kind of work, even though I know not everyone prioritizes as much as they should, because we got our Zooming boys for sure. But I don't know. The deeper diving is very important, and I know there's people out there who want to do the deeper dive, and I want us to be a little bit more of a collective within the UPD.
Yeah, I mean it's that kind of stuff's important, and it's unfortunate to see some of these bigger cases fall to the wayside and fall through the cracks.
I agree entirely.
So I think with people like yourself and people who got the passion for it, I don't think that the other people didn't have passion for it, but I think it just wasn't I don't know, maybe didn't have enough oversight. And
I agree completely.
Yeah, I think with enough oversight and with enough direction, then I think it can really succeed. So
I agree. Some foundations, some bare bones, getting things set up, directive education, teaching people how to go about writing subpoenas and search warrants and what angles to look at. It will really motivate people.
100%. All right, let me get this started because I don't want to keep you too long.
No, of course.
Okie dokie. All right, there it is. Okay, this interview is going to be commencing at 13:25 BST on the 17th of August 2024. I'm State Marshal Richard Dog, badge number 009 with the State Marshal's Office. I'm joined by, could you mind stating your name and rank for the record, please?
Of course. Officer Anastasia Pierce with LSPD.
Perfect. Okay, Ms. Pierce, I am going to read you Miranda rights just So you do have the right to remain silent. Anything you do or say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney if you cannot afford one. Won't be appointed by a state if available. Would you understand these rights?
I do.
Okay, would you like an attorney at this time?
No, I do not. I'm good.
Okay, so just to clarify, you're just waiving your right to an attorney. You're happy to answer some of my questions.
Affirm. I'm waiving my right to an attorney.
Okay, so just I kind of told you a little bit what we're going to be talking about today. So for the incident that occurred at the Blaine County Fair on the 30th of July, could you give me a brief overview of what you remember that day? What happened?
Of course, for my own knowledge, I'm assuming your logs and this recording will stay private within the state marshal's office.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, just because it has it's my statement would be adjusted pertaining to an ongoing investigation. So because it will stay private, I will. I'm happy to articulate the fact that I was investigating the Polito Punisher, who has been known to assault and attack residents of Polito, and has been a known harasser of Mayor Jones, who I had been in frequent contact with, and had concerns that there might have been a risk at the county fair. I confirmed with Undersheriff Cassidy, who was the overseeing officer of my investigation for the Polito Punisher, that I was good to operate undercover for this event. I arrived on scene about an hour before the event took place, and I was not fully blacked out, but I was in just common streetwear, where I operated as a civilian attending the fair. I stayed close to members of CG and overheard conversations that were rather relatively civil and just fun in nature. Nothing really or truly incriminating. There were several times when I saw members of CG step aside and I was not able to overhear conversations. I attempted to have conversations with them, but it was simple banter, nothing actually substantial. It did get to a point when I was coming from the maze on the upper level down to the lower main floor area where I heard people calling out that somebody was attacked. At that point, about, I would say a few seconds after, I heard a shots fired and I began running towards the source of the shots. I didn't see anybody downed. I only saw shots being fired off, but I didn't really exactly see from who. At that point, I saw a purple hair individual pull a firearm and begin open firing into a large group of people. She did not have a mask on. I immediately identified her as Hydra member Susie Carmichael. I pulled my firearm. I told her to stop running. But due to the sheer number of civilians at the event, I did not feel comfortable to open fire upon her for fear of the public. So I tried to follow after her. But unfortunately, she got into a vehicle when we reached the ground floor level, and she fled the scene. Officers were already already were pursuing and attempting to obtain Chatterbox, who apparently was the initial suspect who opened fired. He was apparently the first shots I heard. And so there were not enough units to break off to pursue Susie. When I went back downstairs to see the aftermath of the scene, I found several other downed individuals. Roughly, I would say between 8 to 10. That's off the top of my head from, again, this is a month ago incident. Several more people were down from when I was initially down there. I think I remember initially seeing like maybe 2 or 3. And then when I came back down there after chasing Susie up the stairs and seeing that there was 8 to 10 people on the ground, I was very shocked. I began working with Veronica Mars, who was the only EMS at the scene, to try and provide treatment for the downed individuals. I came across one downed individual who was critical. He was bleeding exceptionally heavily from his chest. He had a GSW. He had, I want to say, a green in color vest and orange reddish hair, who was later identified as Sean McQuillan. I asked if EMS was able to load him up and transport him to CMC, but considering the amount of other downed individuals, we realized that wasn't practical. The other EMS who was on duty was at another active scene. And they were breaking off, but they were not on scene yet. I am first aid certified, and I made the call of seeing if any other officers were comfortable transporting the critical patients, because of the sheer amount of blood that Sean McQuillan was losing. At that time, Chief Barrett said that he was comfortable transporting the patient. Chief Barrett met me outside of the doors of the Blaine County Fair. I loaded Sean McQuillan up into his vehicle, and at that point, Chief Barrett transported him to CMC where he received medical. I believe he went into surgery. I believe I put my vest on to show that I was an officer when I saw Susie Carmichael initially open fire. So I saw her open fire. I put my vest on. I pulled my firearm at the same time. It was all very, very quick. And at that time, my cover was blown. So after, obviously I had my vest on when I chased her up the stairs, when I came back down the stairs, and when I treated Sean McQuillan. My cover was blown. So once I knew that Sean was loaded up and heading towards CMC, I confirmed with EMS they were comfortable, that they didn't need any more help. Before confirming with Cassidy that if he needed any more help, and then I broke off and returned to not CMC, fucking hell, MRPD. I think that's pretty much all I remember.
So Sean McQuillan. So tell me what he was wearing again. You said he had a green. Was it a green vest or?
Yeah, a green vest. I remember that very clearly. He was wearing a very nice green vest. I think sunglasses. He was not wearing a mask, and I very distinctly remember the color of his hair.
And whereabouts was he? Do you remember?
So when I came back down the stairs, I found him on the ground floor, the main county fair area. I guess kind of, again, this is a month ago, so I do apologize. Roughly near the booth that Finley Milton was running. Roughly, if I remember correctly. Pretty close to the center of the county fair area. Between Finley Milton's booth and the fucking game with the footballs.
Okay. And based on where you saw like Susie shooting, was she shooting in his direction where he was found, or was she shooting?
So that was
a different
the
direction?
odd thing. Innately, as an officer, I want to say yes. However, as a detective and somebody who looks deeper into these things, I want to say no. Again, it was a massive crowd. I saw her open firing into, and again, I felt uncomfortable myself open firing upon her because of the sheer amount of hair, like how dirty my crosshair was. She could have hit him. It very easily could have. However, again, my detective brain going off. Susie Carmichael is the only emergency contact on Sean McQuillan's list. I think he might have had one other ADMC member. Why would Susie Carmichael, who is still actively, apparently in very good relationships with Sean McQuillan, open fire on him? I had doctors at CMC tell me that she came and visited him several times. I do not believe she open fired on him. From the nature of my statement, of what I gathered from the other officers, it sounded as though there was a disruption between Hydra members and some members of the Clowns, and I believe Chris King. This is a forever ago. I do apologize.
You okay? Take your time.
Yeah. So I want to say that there was an issue between either Chris King,
Chris King, and then
antagonized Flippy. Yeah. And then there was a thing with Chatterbox. So from the, I apologize, my radio is also going off. From the other statements and what I saw on scene, it sounded like Susie was open firing upon somebody who was heading towards the exit, who was fleeing. And Sean McQuillan stayed at the ground floor in the main fair area. So to my best knowledge, no, Susie was not open firing upon Sean.
Okay. Do you know what officers were opening fire on anybody? I know you said before you didn't, but did you see any officers opening fire?
Unfortunately, I did not. I'll be fully honest with you. I was very, again, distracted by me coming down from the maze. I heard shots fired. I headed toward the source of the shots. I didn't really see anything besides some downed individuals. I saw other PD running towards the scene, but no one was opening fire. And then I saw Susie running. I saw her pull her firearm and her open fire onto a crowd. I didn't see anybody else open fire. I think other officers felt the same way that I did, where there was just way too many people.
Okay. So you found Sean McQuillan injured. Was difficult question. Was the wound that he had, was it one bullet wound? Was it several? Do you remember? Do you recall?
I'm going to refer to my statement to see if that can assist me in any way, shape, or form. Off the top of my head, I cannot remember. I shot down with a GSW to the
maybe I'll ask a more specific question. Was there any casings or projectiles, like not casings, sorry, was there any projectiles found like next to him, or was there any bullet casings like pulled from him?
I'll be honest with you, Marshall. My priority was making sure he got medical. My priority was packing his wounds and stabilizing him.
Yeah.
My priority was not getting evidence from that scene. I was making sure that the man stayed alive. So when I got to the point of loading Sean into a ex-chief barracks car, and I came back downstairs, I found other officers collecting evidence on the scene. At that point, also, again, I had been heavily in conversations with CG members who I was actively investigating. I had fully blown my cover. I was putting myself and other officers at risk. I needed to get out of there. So once I saw other officers collecting evidence, I was like, okay, I need to get out of here. It was my time to step back.
Completely understandable. Okay. All right. So I think that's all my questions for the incident in general.
Yeah.
Then I guess a little bit down the line. So Sean, as far as I'm aware, was critical and went into ICU. Do you know of any FOIA requests that were made for this incident?
I think I heard through the grapevine somebody was talking about a FOIA. It was not my case, was the only thing. I remember I made sure my statement was up to date, but I think that was also me just being crazy about my investigation, and this coming, like me being undercover stemming from my investigation. So I can't recall if I was just on top of my statement, making sure I got that in because I heard a FOIA request or because I was being thorough with my own investigation. I do apologize. I'm going to say I can't recall. No, that's a lie. It was never a FOIA request. I remember Sean McQuillan coming to MIPD and speaking with me and asking who shot him. It wasn't a FOIA request, but it was him asking if I knew the officer that shot him at the Blaine County Fair, and I told him I couldn't tell him that, because I think at the time I genuinely also didn't know, and I didn't know what was exactly the full scope of what was going on. I mean, obviously we're very careful talking about, a great example would be, the rain situation that we're dealing with Jesse Adler, and then we have all these members asking who shot her. I didn't know the answer, and two, I wanted to protect officers, so I didn't tell them. It wasn't a proper FOIA request, but it was certainly asking questions about who shot him.
Okay. Would you? I mean, I personally don't have access to the FOIA channel. Is because I'm under the impression that there's a channel that when there's a FOIA request made, that it all gets put through like a channel where the officers are notified, like who. So the primary officers, is that not how it works?
It is not how it works. Well, so the primary officer is notified.
Yes.
Okay. So how do I say this? So when we have our FOIA, if an officer is notified, we do go into a FOIA chat and we directly make the primary officer of that scene aware that there is a FOIA, and then it is the primary officer's responsibility to go to the other officers and get statements and make sure that the report is done to be able to be turned in within 72 hours.
72 hours.
Depending on the situation, yeah. However, a lot of the time I have found that officers will simply tell the lawyer, hey, you need to be the one to contact the primary officer. So there's not so much of a middleman, which I also kind of agree with, because I hate telephone. I really do.
No, I
know
agree.
I have definitely at times, if I knew the primary officer was around, I would 311 be like, hey, there's a lawyer here who wants to talk to you about a FOIA. Just so I also get my hands away from it, because again, it just muddies waters. I think, I don't know if that helps explain our FOIA system. It's not.
It does a little bit,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Would if I'm asking too much here, you know, I'm happily tell me that
You're good. I'm here to help.
Would you be able to check for me whether or not there was one of those requests made for this incident?
Yeah, of course. Stand by.
8035.
Yes, I do see one.
Okay. And when was that?
July 27th, the day after the event.
Okay, and who was that directed to? Was it to Crystal?
So Crystal was the one who made other officers aware that there was a FOIA. And then I see that Cassidy was made aware. Chief Barrick, Bean was made aware. I don't know who these other two people are. I apologize. Our emails are odd sometimes.
No, you're okay. You're okay. So, but essentially, Crystal was just making other officers aware to get their statements in,
right,
by the looks of
to
it.
finish the statements that they need to be submitted in a timely fashion. Yeah.
Okay, I understand. So, in other words, I guess to clarify, my question for you is: you weren't ever contacted about, like, no one ever made a FOIA request to you specifically.
No,
like, okay,
no.
all right, that's fine. I don't want to confuse you anymore, but thank you very much for checking that for me.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so Sean McQuillan came to Mission Row PD and he was asking you, you know, he was just asking you who shot him at the fair, and you say you didn't know who did it.
Again, so rock hard place. This happened again a month ago, and unfortunately, I'm sure as you're very much aware, I have a kind of whirlwind of investigation swirling around me at all times. So he managed to pin me down between me either going into interrogation with a suspect or having inviting people into MRPD to have a conversation with me. I caught him when I was in the lobby, I think between like speaking with EMS and a witness. So I don't remember the full scope. He wanted to speak with an officer who was at the Blaine County Fair, and I was like, listen, I was there. I'll talk to you. I asked him to stand by, hang out for a minute. He let me finish the conversation I had with my witness, and then I brought him, I spoke with him in the lobby, where he didn't request a FOIA. I can very clearly and distinctly remember he never requested a FOIA of me.
Yeah.
Because I know myself, I'm very thorough with that, and I would have immediately pulled out my MDT and probably literally wrote what Crystal wrote. But he far more was asking questions about like what happened, and even though he was masked up in MRPD, I could kind of piece together who he was from the way he was talking about the fair. And considering that I was so intimately and closely like assisting him specifically at the fair, I knew he knew exactly what happened because of me being the one that treated him. So I was able to kind of figure out it was him from the way he was talking about it. And when I realized he was looking out for the person that shot him, it definitely kind of opened my eyes a little bit more that it wasn't Susie who shot him, because I felt like why are you looking at PD if she was the one who was doing the shooting? But he was very convinced it was an officer, and I genuinely don't know who shot him. I genuinely don't, because the only person I saw ever pull a trigger was Susie. And so between that idea in my mind, and obviously I'm not gonna be like, oh well, Susie shot you. I would never. I just said I don't know, because I genuinely don't. And said that he is welcome to FOIA the report and to get, have a lawyer. But he kind of disregarded it and blew me off and then left pretty quickly. He was very quiet.
Interesting. Okay. Okay. So he didn't like provide you his name, didn't provide you his ID or anything like that?
No. So technically, that's a good point. So no, technically, I have no reason or actual proof to prove it was Sean McQuillan. It was entirely from the way that he just articulated the scene. That it is with my best assumption that that was Sean at Mission Row. Was he wearing a mask? I can't remember. I'm sorry. I do apologize. I would genuinely tell you. Again, from the way he spoke of the scene is why I'm so confident that it was in fact him. He might have also not had a mask on, but again, it was mostly falling back to just the way that he spoke of the incident.
Okay. So you weren't the primary officer, but you were present on the scene. Were you so you weren't handling like the report or anything like that?
No. Again, I was operating undercover for an entirely separate investigation. Yeah, no, my focus and priorities were elsewhere up until I heard the shots fired.
Okay. Bit of a tricky question, but would you consider Sean a victim in this instance?
Yeah, I would say he's an innocent bystander. I don't feel like he was targeted directly. I feel like from the statements that officers made, it was very clear that there was an issue between, Chris King, Flippy, Chatterbox, and Susie. From just, those of which were running from the scene. From my best knowledge, and because I've gone into the VR and I've kind of looked around, because I was very curious as you are about this whole situation, about what happened after I spoke with Sean, or who I assumed to be Sean. It seemed like where I saw his blood and where the shots were being fired from, it was very much an innocent bystander kind of situation. So yes, to answer your question, I feel like he's a victim of this.
Okay. And I guess whether you can answer this yourself or maybe just answer it for the situation as a whole, do you know if he is a victim of the situation? Do you know why his statement hasn't been taken about this incident?
I don't. Again, it wasn't my scene. He was unconscious when I found him. He was brought to CMC. He went to ICU. And again, unfortunately, due to the nature of while I was there, it didn't feel like it was my place to follow up. Unfortunately, if the primary officer spoke with me about it, I probably would have. But again, I was there for other reasons. There was other officers there to prioritize that scene. And I don't mean to sound like I'm throwing other officers on their bus. I really don't. But that was my mindset.
No, I appreciate your honesty. Okay. Let me just check my notes. Okay, so I was given information that a FOIA request was denied.
What?
Given that it was an active investigation. Was that anything? Did you have anything to do with that? Given the information you've given me today about,
no one spoke to me about that FOIA. No, that has nothing to do with my own. Okay, so again, the Polito Punisher case is entirely separate. It is a focused attack on Polito and its citizens, where we thought that potentially an attack could happen at the Polito Fair. I mean, sorry, apologies, the Blaine County Fair. My focus was that with the scene that happened between two entirely separate groups at the Blaine County Fair, I felt like no way in shape or form having it to do anything with my investigation. No one spoke to me about it. I did not deny it. Yeah, that's crazy. No.
Okay. Yeah, it wasn't necessarily that you denied it. It's just
I see. Okay.
a claim. I was asking whether or not you were, asked or anything about it. Yeah.
I see. I see.
Yeah, there was just a claim that has been made that it was denied. So, okay. But you said there was a warrant also written for Susie Carmichael as well. That's correct, right?
I'm sorry. Say that one more time.
So there was a warrant for Susie Carmichael as well.
Yes, because I saw her open fire into that crowd.
Okay.
I was the one that wrote her warrant.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Okay, I think at this time, Miss Pierce, I don't think I have any further questions about this incident. Yeah, I don't think I have any further questions about that. Let's just transition a little bit. So you said you haven't, since you got out of the IC, have you spoken to Marshall? Hold on, let's swap. So this interview is going to be suspended at 13:51. BST. All right, perfect. All right. So you haven't spoken to Marshall Barrett since you got out of the ICU, have you?
No, I've only been out of the ICU for maybe a little over 24 hours though.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right, let me just check something really quick. So this is regarding the so I don't know whether you've been made aware, but regarding the incident that occurred at the observatory, per request of Lieutenant Fay, the investigation regarding what happened up there between, you know, yourselves and Adler was passed to the marshals.
Right.
Just to make sure, you know, the investigation, just to see what happened, was handled. It was just passed to us, just kind of, I think, I don't want to assume the thought process, but I think it was just, let's just hand it to someone external and get it done, because, you know, everyone, you know, it was a heated moment, and obviously it was pretty intense with a lot of officers getting injured and stuff like that. So let's have a look. So I think so Craig is leading this, but I think now that I've got you, do you have some time to answer some questions about what happened that day?
No problem.
Okay, perfect. All right. Let's well, you've already been Mirandized. So we'll just pick that up again. Okay, interview is gonna be recommencing at 13:53 British summertime. Okay, Miss Pierce, we're going to be talking about the incident that occurred on the 12th of August 2024 at the observatory. So just for the record again, you were Mirandized prior, that's correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay, and you
acknowledge my rights.
Okay,
I waive my right to a lawyer.
Okay, perfect. All right. So, so do you mind just briefly walking me through what happened that day? Yeah.
Not a problem. So, I am an FCO, and Rain is a cadet with BCSO. He and I actually had an ongoing friendship before he joined PD. And so he and I have already kind of built a bit of rapport. And he asked me if I was available for a session on the night of the 12th. And I said, yeah, absolutely, no problem, which he's done in the past. Like it's very common. If, you know, cadets want to go out and they check our schedules, it's appreciated. Yeah. So nothing of that seemed out of the ordinary. He's a good kid, and I don't know. We started the session. We responded to some kind of inactive, and I apologize, my brain's a little fuzzy. We responded to something. And after the active, I remember him being like, "Hey," he got a phone call and then was very much on edge, and he asked if I could accompany him to meet up with an old friend. And he was very honest with me. He was like, "Hey, her name's Jessie Adler. She's a member of ADMC. We have a bit of a rocky history, but we've talked in the past, and it's fine." And I was like, "Okay, do you want to go and speak to her yourself if she's a friend, or do you want backup?" And he was like, "No, I definitely want backup. Like I would love somebody there. And like that's all another like colleague has to tell me like before I'm like, bet you're not going alone. The moment that anybody feels uncomfortable, like I completely understand our line of work. Not everyone is appreciative or understanding. And I'm not going to make anyone feel targeted or uncomfortable if they just want support. So I said, of course, not a problem. I told other officers earlier that, hey guys, can I have 70? I requested 77s. Jesse wanted to meet Rain up at the what is the fucking place called? Initially, the Chiliad Mountain Wilderness, State Wilderness, that everyone calls it the nudist camp, I think. And I was like, okay. Several officers responded and agreed. I want to say about 3 other units responded. And we began heading up north. We were probably about halfway to Polito when we got a 78th call because somebody stumbled upon some moonshine stills and a bunch of people didn't like that. And I remember them downing, I think, 2 officers. So I immediately told the units that were going up north with us to break off, and we were all heading back to the city to respond to the 78th call. I could tell Rain was willing. He didn't like hesitate. He completely understood why we had to go back to the city, but like also very much understanding that his friend was waiting. He was like, I don't know what to tell her. And I was like, listen, just explain the situation. If she's a member, if she's affiliated, the way I would talk to a friend like that is be like, hey, what if your boys were getting shot? And I'm sure she would understand. And he literally told her that, and she did understand. So we responded to the 78s. We locked down the scene. We secured it. We brought so 95 and the fellow officers to CMC for everyone to get medical. It was fine. Cool. Bet. It did take way longer in CMC for people to get medical than we expected. And I realized it was getting later into shift 3. And at that point, usually kind of about 2 or 3 hours into shift 3, units begin to break off a little bit because things start slowing down. And I did not feel comfortable heading all the way back up to Polito, where I would be taking units away from the city. And I asked Rain if he'd be willing to meet Jesse anywhere else. I offered up, maybe the old tuner shop docks, and he said, no, we have a spot where we used to talk at the observatory. And I was like, okay, sure. You know what? I'll take what I can get right now, as long as it's not fucking Polito. As we were leaving CMC, I called Daniel Fisher, who was a very good friend of mine, who I knew would have my back. Fish is one of those friends who I don't really ever have to ask. I could just probably tell him, hey, I need help, and he would be there. He set up on standby. He set up on, I want to say Mount Vinewood Drive. I asked him to kind of be at the, oh no, yeah, it was Mount Vinewood and Marlow. It was the like 4-way intersection. I asked him to set up there.
Sorry.
And he was the only kind of 77 I really brought up there with us. Again, I did not want to break more units off. And considering how close we were to the city, I thought, okay, lesser units will be fine. So me and Rain headed up to the observatory. I also wanted to be respectful that Rain is obviously having a very personal conversation with his friend who was... I mean, listen, she's ADMC, right? Like, they're not kind to cops sometimes. Obviously, with his instance with Sean, he exchanged some rather heated words. I've had heated interactions with, other ADMC members in passing. So tensions were already kind of high going into the situation, but nothing horrendous. We were on guard, but not. I wasn't like, I didn't have my firearm drawn. It wasn't like a Hydra member, who has been actively hunting cops. It was an ADMC member. Sometimes we have a good rapport with them, and Rain was vouching that they've already had a conversation in the past where she didn't do anything. Okay, fine, but so I stayed by the car, and he and Jesse went and talked over by a bench, maybe about 15, 20 yards away. I could hear them talking. No, sorry, apologies. I could not hear them talking. Oh, hi, Daisy. I couldn't hear them talking. So I stayed by the car. I gave them their privacy. And I did check and I made sure Dan was still on Mount Vinewood. He was there. Cool, bet. I attempted to look distracted on my MDT. I very much was not. I was very much staying attuned to the situation. But again, I wanted to set a tone of nonchalantness. It probably about 10 minutes into their conversation, Jessie Adler began to raise her voice. And I started to hear her part of the conversation where she was calling him a dog, calling him useless, um, saying that he didn't understand what he was doing, that he didn't know what he was willing to die for, and that she did, that she was willing to die for um, the cut on her back, stuff like that. Again, so she rose her voice and things kind of just kept escalating. When she rose her voice, I put down my MDT and I gave my full attention to the scene. I did not approach them though. I still had confidence that Rain had control of it because it was, again, a heated conversation, but still it was a conversation amongst friends. So now 110% I was locked into what was happening. I'll be honest with you, Doc, at that point, things got a little fuzzy for me. I very clearly remember Jessie pulling her firearm first and open firing upon Rain. I remember pulling my firearm and I opened fired on her, but it took her, geez, it was so quick that she whipped around and I just remember my head going back and just seeing black. I totally lost vision. I remember a massive pain in my head. And then the last thing I really remember is Rain like kind of calling out to her, and it wasn't towards me. It was far away from me. But him like pleading and like kind of begging, asking her why would she do this? Why would you do this? And then I remember him coming over to me, and that's when I don't remember anything else.
Okay. I'm just gonna ask a few clarifying questions, if that's all right.
Of course. Yeah.
So things escalated. Jessie, actually, let me go back a little bit. So you were only going up there to meet regarding this conversation, like a conversation that Ryan had got a phone call about. It was nothing to do with anything else. It was just Ryan had wanted a private conversation with Adler.
He told me it was important, but it sounded more like it was just important for him to talk to her. It wasn't like we had any ulterior motives. I think I remember telling units that we were going to get information because that was my initial understanding, that maybe they were having a conversation about, I don't know, something he was doing. But then it was kind of made clear to me like a little bit later, like while we were driving, I think while we were sitting in the CMC emergency lane, he was like, no, she's a friend. And it's just been like really hard tensions. And I just didn't want to go it alone. It was another reason why I broke off units, because I was like, oh, if we're not like actively like going after anything, like it was a weird tone shift. It wasn't any more of a him just like wanting to talk to her and me not understanding the situation, but it was way more he just wanted support. Does it make sense? I'm so sorry.
Yes, no, that makes a lot of sense.
What a day of academy.
So you told units on the radio that you were going to get information, but that was just an assumption. It wasn't like accurate.
It was my assumption. Yeah.
Okay, so there was no actual information about anything you were going to get. It was just a private conversation.
Yes. Yeah. No, it wasn't like anything I was investigating. It had nothing to do with anything I was looking into. Rain might have been looking into something, but from the way he told me about his relationship with Jessie, it developed into him being like, hey, I need to have a conversation with my friend. It seemed important to him, not important to anything else.
Okay. Okay. All right. So then we go to the incident itself. So Jessie pulled her firearm first, and she opened fire on Ryan. Then you pulled your firearm, opened fire on her. Yeah. And then she swiftly turns to you and shoots you, and then it all goes black
Yeah.
from there.
I just remember hearing things.
You can
More
hear
shot, like a
Ryan.
few more shots, and then just Rain calling out for her, asking her why she was doing that.
Okay.
Why would you do that? Why would you do that? I just remember that like ringing in my head for like hours.
Yeah. Okay. Um. Okay. I think for now, this is going to be a good amount of information. We might call you in again if we need any clarifying questions, but I think, you know, I don't think, if I'm just being straightforward and honest, it's the same thing that we said to Ryan, you know, not seeing any issues with this.
Yeah.
This is
It's
not,
unfortunate, but
it's an unfortunate thing. This seems like a good shoot. It's just an unfortunate incident that it escalated to what it did. We just got to make sure we're dotting our I's and crossing our T's. That being said, for the investigation, do you still have your firearm? Are you still using the same firearm you used that day?
yes, I am.
Did you shoot your weapon? Like, did you discharge your firearm, or did you not manage to do that?
Yes, I did.
Okay. I'm gonna, if it's all right, I'm gonna take that firearm. If you need reimbursing for the amount, just given that there's evidence in the scene.
You're fine.
Hold on, let me get a little bag.
Yeah, you're good. I'm just gonna. I'm not drawing on you. I'm just seeing what's in here. Am I good to keep the mag?
You should.
I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I've restocked all of these mags have been cleaned out from the initial because I remember I
Yeah, you'd
dumped
be fine.
my mag.
You'd be fine
Yeah.
to keep the mag. Yeah.
Okay, great, cool. So this is just the firearm then. It's been
Just the
emptied.
firearm. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Just drop in this little bag here.
There you go.
Thank you very much.
Of course.
Okay. You want reimbursement for that? We absolutely
No,
don't
it's all
mind.
right.
You sure?
I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm okay.
Yeah, this is just keep the integrity of the investigation going. We just want to make sure we got all the evidence and stuff. But yeah,
I appreciate due diligence if anyone does.
Yeah, of course. I figured you'd understand. So yeah, we'll be in contact if we have any more questions. But like I said, don't really see any issues with this. We just wanted to make sure we've got all the situation covered. But obviously, thank you for cooperating and thank you for all your answers and stuff like that. I've got your number. If I need anything, I'll give you a ring or I'll give you a text if you don't pick up. Okay. But thank you very much.
Of course, I'm always around.
If this interview is going to be suspended at 1408 BST. All right. Thank you very much, Space. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. My pleasure.
All right.
Let me know if you need anything, Doc.
Of course. Right, you take it
I
easy.
guess I don't have kids here, do I?
Yeah.
Thank you, Marshall.
No problem. You too. Perfect. Daisy go off duty already? Hey, Lockhart, yeah. Anna. Checking cams. Oh no, let's put some different music on. That's Anna Lockhart. She's a marshal. I think we're chilling. Yep, we're good. So I think the whole like